Welcome to the Parrish The Thought Show. The opinions of Brian, your host, and his guests have not been sanitized or scientifically tested, so please consume at your own risk. Now, here's Brian.
Ladies and gentlemen, and whoever else is listening, welcome back to the show. On the program today is my friend, Ken Roberts. Ken is currently running for Lehi City Council. Voting is next week, and he stops by to tell us a little bit about why he's running, why he wanted to get involved and change and help his community. And he has a great philosophy that says, wherever you are, make it better. So sit back, relax, and learn how he's doing that. So, Ken Roberts, thank you for joining me today.
You are welcome, Mr. Parrish. It's good to be here.
Mr. Parrish is my father, and he will not be joining us. Thank you very much.
You know, that's such an old joke. Who started that one?
We're dads, and there's no time limit on them.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah. Dad jokes
true.
It doesn't matter. So
That
we're
is true.
here to talk about you decided, in all your infinite wisdom that you're going to run for city council of Lehi, right?
Infinite wisdom. Yeah, that sums it up. Sure.
So tell me why are you doing this crazy thing? Why would you give all your time to do such a crazy thing? Are you like one of those altruistic do-gooders, Boy Scout things? What is it? Come on.
Oh no, I'm inherently very selfish. So it's got nothing to do with.
Oh, then
it's not
right
you. It's me.
You'll fit right in being a politician,
Right?
Unfortunately.
Oh my gosh, I call it the flux capacitor moment.
Okay.
I was standing on my toilet, hanging a picture, slipped and fell, hit my head on the sink, and I was like, you know what? I should run for city council. And that was when the idea was born. Actually, that's not true.
I like your story, so you should just run with that. But
I should run with that story.
I guess tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Tell us the truth.
Well, I've had a couple of buddies for a long time that just kept saying, you should do it. You should do it. You'd be great at it. It'll be tons of fun. You'll meet all kinds of super people. And I was like, yeah, I don't think so. And then this year it was just like, you know what? Why not? So I went down, paid my $35 and drove home and said, hey, I just did something crazy. And my wife asked me, what are you thinking? Apparently I had a flux capacitor moment.
Was this before you told her what you were thinking?
I did enlist, sign up. I don't know how to, before I told her. She knew I was thinking about it, but she didn't know I was going to do it.
Okay. How many seats are available in Lehi City currently?
There are 3 seats available. One incumbent is running, and so essentially you have 2 wide open seats.
And how many are there? What's the competition pool look like?
Well, it started out at 17. We had a primary that cut it down to 6. So it's pretty competitive. It's been pretty fun.
Based on what you've seen with the city council, are you running because you see there's a big problem that you think you can solve or at least contribute to the solution? Or did you just want the attention?
Well, I am an attention grabbing seeking individual.
Okay.
Of course, your listeners, they can't see the facial expressions, right? Unless they watch this recording.
Right.
But
yeah.
No, I don't really feel like, I've got this bone to pick. I don't feel like I'm going in there and want to change the world. There are definitely some things I would like to see done differently, but Lehi's facing some big challenges here in the next few years, and I want to contribute to the solution. I want to be a part of the success that we could potentially have.
And what are those big challenges that the city's facing?
Number one, to me, is the transportation. People say growth, but growth is transportation.
That's a generic politic term. What does that even mean? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's transportation, it's water, it's housing, it's amenities that the city provides to their residents. We are going to be, if we're not careful, We could be a city of freeways because Eagle Mountain and Saratoga Springs are growing exponentially. And Lehi and those other two cities, we need to manage that growth and that transportation together, or we're just going to see a Southern California experience where we just have freeways and gridlock everywhere we go.
You'll have a belt route for Lehi,
Yep.
which it almost has with Pioneer Crossing, Main Street, and what 2100 North. Is that's all? That's the three main east-west corridors, and those are packed all the time.
They're packed all the time, and so they are talking about a North Shore freeway, so just off the North Shore of Utah Lake, so it'll be in the lake. They're studying right now a plan to potentially put a road out there. There's possibly a road that will come off of Point of the Mountain, north of Thanksgiving Point, that will take traffic over to Redwood Road and Mountain View corridor, which is slated to become a freeway here in the next 10 years. 2100 is going to be a freeway. So they're working on the belt route.
It's interesting. You think I remember when they were building Timpanogos Highway. I was living in Highland back then, and I was just thinking, this is an absolute overkill. And it looked like some forward thinking had gone into that, which usually it's like after the fact, oh my gosh, we have to make these roads wider. Now that was totally needed, and it fits perfectly. It's perfect for the volume.
I live up there on that side of the freeway, and when I come home from Salt Lake, that's the road I use, and I love it. And unfortunately, the residents on the west side, they really don't have a nice, easy off the freeway onto something that gets them to where they want to go quickly.
How long have you been running for the seat?
I want to say June, May, somewhere in there is when I went down to the city hall and said, "Hi, pick me." And they said, "Okay, give us $35 and you're in."
And you're in. Oh, that $35.
Right.
Well, and what that's going to buy you.
Yeah. It's already bought me a lot, or made me pay a lot.
Yeah.
Not sure. Because I remember it was before the rodeo parade. And, Lehi houses the annual roundup, and they have a great parade and a great rodeo. And I wanted to be in the parade thinking, well, I'm a political candidate. I should have an entry in the parade. But Lehi's, they don't allow political candidates in the parade. And I really like that. I think it's great that we don't do that. We have the city council and the mayor, they do their thing. But as far as like having every political candidate across the board, and initially I was kind of like, oh, that's too bad. But then when I went down and watched the parade, I was like, you know what? Kind of nice that we don't have everybody and their dog out there handing out their flyer.
Trying to, because it's another selling point. And like, what has been the reaction, the residents that you've met and the people you've interacted with? Are they disillusioned with the process? I know I just interviewed a Payson City council person who's running, and her perspective is that people just don't care. No one's turning out. They don't care. They don't feel like it matters. Their vote doesn't matter. City's going to do what the city's going to do regardless. So they just don't even care. Are you finding that similar sentiment in Lehi?
Yes. I think voter turnout is extremely low for 85,000 residents. In the primary, we only had, I don't know the exact number, but it was less than 5,000. You smart mathematicians out there, whatever that is, it's pretty sad, right? So you think, well, why aren't people voting? Why? And I think there's a lot of divisiveness. It makes people uncomfortable to have those conversations. And I don't think social media helps this, because social media, you can say anything to anybody without repercussions. Where if you and I have a conversation face to face and I say something that you don't like, you can tell me, or I can at least read your body language and go, ooh, that wasn't very nice. And it's not about being nice or mean, but it's about being respectful and being willing to listen to other people's point of view.
And it's easier to go to social media and I call it getting your sources, your news and your truth from Wikipedia, because that's where that's more believable. Why?
Yeah.
But
It's very easy to reinforce my beliefs because I can follow, I can watch, I can do things that reinforce what I believe. And it's almost, instead of having a whole new variety of information to you, you can limit what you're seeing. I don't know. I try to, I'm on social media a little bit, but I try to stay away from it, especially when it comes to real issues. And I think that's what maybe is disillusioned a lot of people. They're just sick of the arguing that goes on because that's all they see.
I guess the solution would be you tell people, hey, go to my website, look at what I stand for. Are you getting? Are people doing that? And my question is, how do I know what you, Mr. Candidate running for office, how do I know what you're telling me is true?
Right.
I guess
You know, I do have a website. I think people go to it because I'll get emails, and I would prefer that. You know, send me an email, call me, send me a text, because then we can have a pseudo conversation, but at least I'm conversing with another human being. Um, so I think the websites are great in that. But yeah, you can get on there and, I'm a political candidate, so I'm going to tell you in my best interest to tell you what you want to hear.
what you think they want to hear.
Yeah. So if you're anti-growth, well, all of a sudden I'm anti-growth. Oh, but you're pro-growth now? Oh, all of a sudden I'm pro-growth too. So it's been such an
Are
interesting.
you pandering?
I I am pandering to you, Brian, even though you can't vote for me, but I'm gonna win your vote.
Okay. Do people, or what are some of the questions people are asking you as you're having these discussions with them?
A big one in Lehi City is parks. Everybody wants to know, is the city going to build parks? Are we going to finish the ones that are being built? So that's a big one that comes up often. The other big one, obviously, we just talked about is transportation. How do we get people from one side of the city to the other side of the city? And if I can go off on a tangent here, because that's another thing that politicians do, right?
Well, if the tangent is relevant, yeah. I mean, if you're doing a tangent to divert a question, that's a different story. But yeah,
Right?
this show's all about tangents. So yeah, it's your story. So you tell it. Tell
That's my
people
story.
what this is for people to see the real Ken Roberts, and you are the real Ken Roberts.
Yes, there are others out there, but I am the real one. They're artificial.
There is another imposter. But
Yes.
yeah, so yeah, do a tangent. Tell me why, let's
So,
get into the mind of Ken Roberts and why people should vote for you.
so one thing that frustrates me is with all the growth that's happening, West Lehigh, Saratoga, Eagle Mountain, is we're only talking about building bigger and faster roads, right? Now we need a 4-lane freeway in the lake to help accommodate that traffic. And it's been brought up in a few meetings about public transportation. And people have one or two reactions. Oh, I don't want to give up my car. I like my car. Like, yes, great. I'm not asking you to give your car, but today on the freeway, it took me, I'm 10 minutes from my office. It took me 40 minutes to get here, or I'm 10 miles from my office. It took me 40 minutes to get here because of traffic. Wouldn't it have been nice if some of us could have said, you know what, today I'm going to take a bus or a train or some other, or even be able to ride a bike. So it frustrates me that that's not part of the conversation, right? Alternate forms of transportation, and people get defensive and say, no, you can't take my car. Okay, I don't want to take your car, but if you're okay sitting in gridlock and taking 40 minutes to go 10 miles, then we're good. But I just think let's look at some other options. And then the other thing that people say is, well, nobody rides public transportation. I'm like, well, yeah, because the bus stop, I think they changed it, but Well, there's still one down in Lehi where there's train tracks, and the bus stop, people sit on the train tracks while they're waiting for the bus. Like, yeah, I wouldn't do that either. In winter, when it's snowing and freezing rain or whatever it is, I don't want to sit out there like that. So I think more people would take it if it was a little nicer, if it serviced more of our community. I live not too far from not a major road. It's not really a major road, but it's a thoroughfare. There's no bus routes on it. I'm thinking,
Which is tricky with, I just got back from New York City visiting my daughter. And of course, they've got it down to a science there. My daughter hasn't had a car for 2.5 years because it's pointless to have one. It's a nightmare to have a vehicle because the transit system is so efficient. Out here where we have miles and miles and miles between everything, we do like our freedoms, we like our cars, but public transportation, if it's going to take me 4 hours to go from one side of Utah County to another, not happening. It's got to be economical for people. Yeah, I'm not going to do that because it's a waste of my time. It's inefficient. And again, the routes don't go everywhere. They just, if your jobs or recreation or wherever you're going is on that route, that's great. Like Salt Lake County is better with what's this? You get the front runner, and what's the other one? The
tracks.
It's a little bit better.
Yep.
But it's still, I don't know if it's just going to take just mindset shift, but it's got to be efficient and economical. And if it's going to take me 4 hours, I'm not going to do that. No one's going to do that.
Yeah, I completely agree. So how do we enable UTA to become more efficient, to become more economical, to service us better? And so then you start talking about, well, are we diverting funds? How do we get the UTA system more money? And then you start messing around with state politics and different hands in that pie.
Yeah, it's tough, and it's easy to go government's inefficient and useless. And yes, it can be, but it takes a lot to move a ship, and
it does.
Things cost money. You can't just everything to do like that freeway you're talking about. That's an act of God to get something like that. One, if you're putting it in the water,
yeah,
or bike paths, or more running, for bikes. Yeah, bikes would be great. Obviously not in the winter, but or even smaller shuttle buses. Maybe not these ginormous 50 passenger buses. Maybe they do smaller ones. The short bus, for public transportation.
Yeah,
maybe that's something like that, or vans.
Yeah, something like that would be great, right?
Which they have them. They have the van pools.
Yeah, and I with the e-bikes the way they are right now. I mean, if we had some biking paths like the Murdoch Canal Trail.
Yeah,
I hope most of us are familiar with that. But if that went, if there were more options off of that trail, I think more people would take that as an option, even in the winter, right? Bundle up, get on that e-bike and go.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I've been watching and aware of, and I'm worried that in 25, 30 years, if we don't plan any kind of public transportation system now, we won't have the room then, and it'll be an afterthought while we're sitting on. And
a nightmare for people.
And a nightmare.
Because you have to start doing eminent domain things, which is a challenge
that's
of itself.
Yeah, there's somewhat talk of that. There's a road in Lehi that they're talking about widening, and if they do that, it's eminent domain stuff, and that's just ugly.
We're gonna have to start stacking them.
Yeah, stacking them, going up, going down, right?
Yeah, no, that again, I'm not the engineer, so I don't know what that entails, but at least the conversations are being had. But yeah, it's gonna get to the point where, like you say, even in New York with the public transit system, it's still crowded. And I know I rented a car while I was there to go visit a friend in New Jersey, and it's in 40 miles, and it was about 2 hours, and most of that was just getting out of the getting out of Brooklyn.
Wow.
But it is what it is. But
Right. But for us to go 40 miles, typically we think, well, that should take you half an hour.
that's half an hour, 40 minutes max.
Yeah.
No.
So we're going to have a mental paradigm shift.
Yeah. And we're not, like you say, we're not stealing your freedom. We're not taking your car, but providing an alternative. Because I see these buses at the south end of the county in Elk Ridge and Salem and Payson, these big 3-axle buses and maybe it's the end of the route when I see it, so there's no one on it. But every time I see these buses, there's no one on them.
Right.
The driver and maybe one person.
Right.
So you could see that and go, well, there's no one ever riding it. Well, front runner's full most of the time.
Yeah.
The times I've been on it. But anyway, we're getting down the rabbit hole with traffic.
Getting in the weeds a little bit on
getting
this,
in the weeds, man, about the the campaign. So, all right. So voting is the 21st.
Yep. They pushed it back 2 weeks.
What haven't I asked you about your campaign that you want to tell people? Like why Ken Roberts versus those other candidates? You know them.
Right.
Why are you so much better?
Well, I think I had a guy explain it to me a little bit like this. It's like, you're a team, right? There's 5 city council people, and that team's got to work together to be successful. And whether or not you like, air quotes, right? If you like everybody on that team is kind of irrelevant. The main point is you got to be able to work together. I've been on a lot of teams, and there's been some teams where I don't always get along with the other guys. But when we get on the playing surface, all that's gone away, and we have to work together for the ultimate success of the team. So I feel like I'm a really good team player, and I can work well with other people, even though I don't always agree with them and they don't agree with me. But I feel like at the end of the day, we're going to come out of there with a mutual respect of each other and not coming away from, hey, that guy's an idiot. He's got stupid ideas. I'm never going to do anything they ever suggest. Yeah. Which then you have a dysfunctional city.
Yeah, and that's what we need. We need more dysfunctional government, right?
Well, there's an argument for that, right?
I don't know. It seems to be a lot of them that are that way. But again, I've never run for city council. I've thought about it, but then the thought went away really quickly.
You should do it. It's actually been really a great experience.
Good experience for you. Well, that was my next question. Is I've seen a lot of snarky stuff that happens, especially in our Happy Valley LDS culture, where generally speaking we should be kind and loving to one another because that's what we're taught every Sunday. But you see a lot of underhanded things because people can hide behind their keyboards.
Yep.
Are you seeing any of that, or has it been pretty on the level and professional?
It's been pretty on the level. Between the candidates, it's been very professional. There are always issues that come up that people have strong opinions and they voice them on social media, and it just raises a firestorm, right? And they just kind of breed this firestorm, but you don't convince people on social media. I don't think, you don't go to social media looking for, I'm going to listen to this person because they seem to know what they're talking about and change my mind.
And I want to change my mind just for fun.
Yeah, right. You don't really do that.
It doesn't happen very often, no.
Every so often you'll run across somebody that has the stats, the statistics, and the experience to say, this is what's going on. And you go, okay, that makes sense to me. I may not like it, but that's when we have to self-reflect and go, yeah, that's a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
What I've been doing isn't working, so I'm okay to change my mind.
Give credit where it's properly due.
Yeah.
Well, that screws everything up. Why would you want to behave that way, Ken?
Well, I don't know. That's a good question, right? Usually it's just more fun to just go, you're an idiot. We're not doing that. Move along.
Fair enough. No one's an idiot. They just, everyone's doing the best they can.
Yep. Yeah. And I really do believe that. I really do believe that people, they care about, first of all, we care about ourselves, right? We care about our neighborhoods. And when something affects us, that usually triggers us into movement.
Oh, yeah, of course.
right? And
You
so,
don't
and
act
that's
on things you
natural.
don't know.
Yeah, that's totally natural. And so, being smart about it, working with other people, realizing, well, if we do this, how does that affect the people downstream? We got big development going in Lehi right now, and for water, they've had to drill a well, but the well is kind of in a, it's, I don't want to say environmentally, um,
Like a preserve or some
yeah,
sacred environmental
yeah,
spot.
yeah, it's not that, but it's, it's got some big trees, and it was kind of a nice little grove of trees, and that's been changed. But I just wonder, and I don't know, right? I don't know how it was decided upon, but that's where they put the well, and it's affected those neighbors right there. So when they did the big development, did they realize that 3 miles away this was going to happen? So it's, but those are the kind of things, right? How do you manage that? How do you think about the repercussions that are going to affect all of us and not just some?
Because everything affects everything. We're all
Yep.
connected.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And really, a city is an ecosystem, right? You got all these different things going on and different layers of the natural world that are playing a part to it. It's kind of been fun to learn about.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, what's the most fascinating thing you've learned since you started doing this?
Most fascinating thing I've learned, I think, how long, and I think intellectually I knew this, but to actually see it in action is how long it takes the government to really do anything. They always seem like they're 3 or 4 years, 5 years behind the eight ball. Well, and by design, government moves slowly. Because I think if it moved quicker, things could happen that would affect us citizenry.
Yeah, you might get approvals on things that, yeah, you're right. They maybe didn't think through enough. So it can be perceived as it crawls, at the speed of nothingness. But again, yeah, you're right. That's a good point that
Right.
maybe it's by design that.
And even though it moves slowly, we have some townhomes going in down to the end of our street. And the government went through all the notification that they're required to do, right? Put a sign on the property, had the city council meetings, did everything they were supposed to do. And yet my neighborhood's still surprised. They're like, well, what's going in here right here? Oh, townhomes. What? How did this happen? Who would do this? I'm thinking, this has been 3, 4 years in the making. And my neighbor, and me included, we're just waking up to this.
Well, because
So,
you start seeing dirt moved.
yep.
Then you're like, but all this was happening in the city council meetings, which city councils usually beg people to come to and get
Yeah.
involved, so you know what's going on, or at least read the minutes and know. So it's
Yeah.
on the citizens really to inform themselves. It's also the city's job to try to inform as much as they can, but people still have to reach out and actually want that information.
I
And
mean,
it's hard.
it's all online. Every city council meeting is recorded, and
Yeah.
but really, who wants to watch that, right? I mean,
Oh, that's some sexy. Can I get like
yeah,
a Netflix miniseries?
right. I mean, The Bachelorette's on tonight. Come on, that's what I'm watching.
Yeah, city council. The sparks are flying tonight.
So it's hard, and it kind of goes back to voting, right? It's just hard to get people involved. We're so busy, and we got so many things that are going on. How do you take time out of your kids' 3 basketball games and the cheer game, the cheer you got to go to, and then you have meetings on top of that? How do you take time from that to go down and watch a city council meeting?
We make time for what's important to us.
Yes, right. And your kids are what's important. For sure, they come first. And I guess my kids are grown and have fledged. We call ourselves bird launchers because they've launched and they're doing great. So I'm like, you know what? I got time. I'm going to go do this.
Bird launchers. I love that.
You like that one? Isn't that a good
That's
one?
just, I'm stealing that one, man. That's great.
Well, I gave credit to my wife, and then she goes, "Oh no, it was somebody else." But since I can't remember who the other person was,
Then it's
I
you
gave credit to my wife.
or your wife. And now, if you can't remember your wife's name, maybe you just take the credit. It's for you.
Well, another 10 years, that's probably going to be true.
Yeah, embrace that. So,
Right.
how can people find you? What's your website?
Ken for Council, right? KenForCouncil.com.
Okay.
Pretty sure that's my website. See, I don't even know it well enough. I'm like, how do I look that up?
Well, I'll find it. We'll get it in the show notes. It'll
Get
be
in
correct
the,
when we get it there. But yeah.
yeah. I'm pretty sure it's Ken for Council, or it's probably KenForLehiCouncil.com.
Okay.
That's a good way. My phone number and email are on there. A good
Okay.
email for me is KenForLehiCity at gmail.com.
Okay.
You can email that. Yeah, just, come out, right? Be involved. Lehi does have a good record of people being involved in the in the roundup days, the end of June. The whole town comes out to that. That's a blast. The rodeo, Spanish Fork has a great rodeo. So there are community activities that are happening where people are involved. And I think city government should be one of those as well.
Well, yeah, because the whole saying, "Oh, you can't complain if you don't vote and get out," which is a lie because you can.
Yeah.
Should you? No, but yeah, I get
Right.
it.
It's who do you complain to, right? If I'm not active and I don't know what's going on, it's like the townhomes. I could go up to the mayor and be like, "Hey, why are these being built?" And he's like,
In my
"Well,
backyard,
in my backyard."
can't have that. Don't want
Right?
those people here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get a lot. You do get that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I know when we moved to Elk Ridge 7 years ago, shortly after we moved, about a year after we moved in, another home was built right behind us that kind of blocked our view of the valley. It wasn't ridiculous, but my wife was like, "Oh, we can't have them building a house here." And I was like, "You can't be the person that moves into the town and then signs a petition to keep the town small after you move in. Like, we can't be those people. That's just wrong."
It's I was thinking about, my home was built 1999, and it was farms. There's that street that goes through. There's all these older homes built in the 60s and 70s, and they owned all that ground. And I'm sure in 1999, when these homes were being built, they were doing oh, I can't believe this, the growth, and we're going to have all these homes and the traffic, and it affects their quality of life for sure. So now it's okay, how do we be proactive so that in the future, when we grow and these old farmers want to sell their land, which I fully support, and they should be able to do that for however they want to do it, and how do we not provide housing for the next generation, but have housing available? Because that's another issue that we face, right? Is there's just not a lot of houses for that next generation to buy and get in and participate in the equity and the wealth creation that happens when you own a home.
And there's a thinking that new people are bad.
Yeah.
I don't know where that comes from, but there's a lot of good people that are moving in here. And I even tell people that I'm from California twice because they're like, "Oh, you're one of them." I'm like, "Yes, I came here twice from California. So I brought it in twice. I brought the disease in twice."
It shows. It's got a little
Yeah.
rash. Yeah.
But, they're good people. I think generally speaking, we're not, bringing in a bunch of criminal element that are destroying Utah. We're bringing in good people that have good
Right.
ideas.
Good people come. When you say those kind of people, I always think about my niece and her husband. She's a teacher, he's a dentist. But they were those kind of people that moved in, they bought a townhome, and then they slowly upgraded and upgraded. But initially, they were one of those kind of people that bought new development townhome on the outskirts of town. I'm like, a teacher and a dentist.
Yeah.
Sounds like good people.
I don't know. They're pretty sketchy industries.
They are, aren't they? Oh,
Okay.
but yeah.
Well, any final words, sir?
Be involved, wherever you are, make it better. I think that's initially how I really got started in Lehi City community. As we were there, our kids were going to school, and we thought, well, how do we make the schools better? Well, let's go down and ask. And so we got involved at the school with I read to third graders and fourth graders. We'd go in for half an hour a day and read a book, and it was just a blast. So be involved. I really think that's an important part of
probably not
who
much
we
different
are.
probably not much different than being a politician, right? Reading to third graders, reading to adults.
Yeah,
Not a big stretch sometimes.
I had to, I hear about other people bringing in gum for the kids that they'd read to. I never took in gum, and I know my kids were like, "How come you never bring us gum?" I'm like, because we're learning how to read. It's not about the gum.
Treats, man, or we're not showing up.
That's right. Bribery or nothing.
That's right. Well, cool, Ken. Well, thanks, man. Thank you for coming on, and we'll get all your details in the show notes that people can reach out to you and get involved. And voting again is the 21st, correct?
A week from tomorrow. Yep.
Okay.
So ballots are out. They've been sent. You probably have one, but they're due 8 p.m. on the 21st.
Awesome. Okay, man. Thank you so much for coming on. Good talking with you.
All right. Thank you, sir, Mr. Parrish.
Ooh, you did it.
Thank you again for listening to the Parrish The Thought Show. We know you have many podcast options and appreciate that you have chosen us. If you love what you hear, please give us a rating on whatever platform you find us. And don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. If you hate what you hear, only tell us. You're still here? Click on the next episode for more from the Parrish The Thought Show.